Money is one of those things that nobody really questions. You wake up, go to work, get paid, spend it on food, maybe buy something online, and then do it all again next month. It's just money. But the more you think about it, the stranger it gets. Imagine I handed you a $20 note. You'd probably be pretty happy. It's 20 bucks. But why? It's not made out of gold. You can't eat it. You can't build a house with it. If civilization disappeared tomorrow, that $20 note would suddenly become a very expensive bookmark. So why does it have value? The short answer is because we all agree that it does. And honestly, that sounds like a cop-out answer. Until you realize it's actually true. Money only works because billions of people trust that everyone else will accept it too. But it wasn't always like this. Thousands of years ago, there wasn't any money at all. If you wanted something, you had to trade for it. Sounds simple enough, except it really wasn't. Imagine you've got chickens and you want a new pair of shoes. You find someone who makes shoes. Perfect. Except they don't want chickens, they want wood. Now you've got to find someone who wants chickens and has wood, then take that wood back to the shoemaker. And that's assuming the person with the wood doesn't want fish instead. Buying almost anything became this massive chain of trades, and it was incredibly inefficient. People eventually realized that they needed something everyone would accept. Something you could trade today, knowing someone else would happily take it tomorrow. Different places tried all sorts of things: salt, shells, tea, animal skins, even giant stone discs that were literally too heavy to move. Which sounds ridiculous until you realize it worked. Because value isn't really about what something is, it's about whether people want it. Eventually, gold became the obvious choice. It was rare enough that you couldn't just find loads of it lying around. It didn't rust. You could melt it into coins, and almost everyone agreed it was valuable. For hundreds of years, gold was basically money. But carrying around bags of gold isn't exactly practical. So people began leaving it in secure vaults instead. The vault would give you a receipt that said something like, "This person owns this much gold." At first, those receipts were just proof that your gold existed. But then, something interesting happened. People realized it was easier to trade the receipt than the gold itself. Instead of giving someone a gold coin, you just handed them a piece of paper. Eventually, people stopped asking for the gold altogether. The paper became the money. And over time, governments realized something. Almost nobody was actually exchanging those notes for gold anymore. People trusted the paper on its own. So they quietly got rid of the gold part. Today, if you walk into a bank with a $20 note, they won't hand you 20 bucks worth of gold. They'll just hand you another $20 note. Which sounds completely pointless, but that's because the value isn't in the paper anymore. It's in the trust. Think about your own money for a second. Most of it probably isn't even cash. It's just numbers on a screen. When your wages come in, no one wheels a truck full of money to your bank. A computer changes a number. When you tap your card in a shop, another computer changes another number. That's it. The money itself barely exists physically anymore. So why doesn't the whole system fall apart? Because everyone trusts it'll still work tomorrow. You accept dollars because you know Walmart will accept them. Walmart accepts them because suppliers accept them. Suppliers accept them because their workers accept them. It is this enormous chain of trust involving millions of people who've never met each other. And as long as everyone believes it works, it does. But that trust isn't impossible to break. Imagine a country suddenly printed 10 times more money overnight. At first, that sounds brilliant. Everyone's richer, right? Not really. Imagine there's only one pizza left in a shop. Yesterday, everyone had $10. Today, everyone has $100. The pizza hasn't changed. There's still only one pizza. The only thing that's changed is that everyone has more money to compete for it. So instead of costing $10, maybe it costs $100. The pizza didn't become more valuable, the money became less valuable. That's inflation. And if a government prints far too much, you can end up with hyperinflation, where prices change so quickly that money becomes almost useless. There have been times in history where people needed full bags of cash just to buy bread. Not because bread became incredibly valuable, because the money stopped being trusted. So, does money actually have value? Not really. At least, not on its own. The paper is invaluable. The plastic card in your wallet is invaluable. The numbers in your banking app definitely aren't valuable. What's valuable is the agreement. Money is probably the biggest shared belief in human history. Not in a bad way, more like a giant promise. A promise that, if you spend an hour working today, someone else will give you something they spent an hour making tomorrow. And somehow, that simple idea built the modern world.